think we're good on my end.
Thanks. Good afternoon. My name is Allison McKenzie, and I am Chair of the Historic Conservation Board. I would like to take a moment to remind everyone about the rules of the proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on September 26, 2011, amended March 23, 2015, last amended March 9th, 2020. A copy of the rules of procedure is available for review online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments such as attorneys, should stand and take an oath administered by the board's attorney. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio Rules of Evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their service. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, please speak clearly into your microphone and state your name and address for the record. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video conferencing technology, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. All participants providing testimony must have both camera and audio features turned on in order to participate. With that said, let's proceed with the first item. And on that first item, I would like to make a motion to move item number 1 from the discussion agenda to the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
I will call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
and the chair votes aye. Okay. Now we can, Doug, is there anything you'd like to tell us before we take action on that consent item number 1?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. If that is the case, I will entertain a motion regarding item number 1.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 1500 Gray Street and further notes identified by staff in the report.
Second.
Thank you. I will call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
the chair votes aye. Okay, item number 1 is approved, and we will move on to item number 2. Mr. Owen.
Madam Chair, before we do that, if I could just address the board and some of the participants here, just on a housekeeping matter. We did receive a request for a continuance for item number 5 today. That's 1947 Auburn Avenue. That was based on a realization that we needed to do some additional zoning analysis. So that matter has been continued till June 5th, at the same time here. But that is something that is already occurred. So if you're here for that particular item, you're welcome to stay, but it will not be heard today. It'll be heard during June 5th. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2 is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 432 Walnut Street. This is the Traction Building, which is designated as a local historic landmark building in the downtown neighborhood. The applicant is in the process of renovating the building for a hotel use. And as part of that renovation, there will be a rooftop deck added to the top of the building. I do apologize on the proposed conditions in the staff report. That is inaccurate. There's no rooftop bar there now. They are proposing to install one, and there will not be louvered shade structures. This is actually an open roof deck, and there is also an enclosed room addition on the roof. So it does comply with the zoning regulations. So there is no zoning relief required. So the application is for the certificate of appropriateness for those changes to the rooftop area, as well as the extension of the fire escape on the south facade to reach that rooftop deck. Share my screen here briefly. Okay. So you can see on this elevation drawing, this is the enclosed area that will be added to the rooftop. There is currently an elevator penthouse on the roof, as well as mechanical equipment and skylights and other things. So that elevator penthouse will remain. It will be altered somewhat. And this is the room addition that will be built to house the bar and the assembly space on the upper deck, roof deck area. And then you can see here the extension of the south fire escape to access that rooftop area to provide the required egress. The applicant has applied for Part 2 historic preservation tax credits with the State Historic Preservation Office, and that has been approved. So you can see the renderings here. The primary elevations are the north and east elevations of the building. The rooftop deck comes up to the existing balustrade, the stone balustrade on that rooftop area. There's a glass rail behind that to protect that area. And then the actual room addition is set back from these primary facades. So due to the height of the building and the development surrounding it, the majority of this rooftop deck will not be visible from directly in front of the building. Actually, no portion will be visible from directly in front of the building. It will have some sight lines when viewed from a distance, just because of the openness of the street grid in that surrounding area. So you can see there is a minimal visibility that extends up from that existing penthouse now, once this rooftop deck will be constructed. So staff does feel that this is appropriate in the interest of historic conservation, as it will not affect the character defining features of the building, and it will not be highly visible from any surrounding street. So staff does recommend the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on plans by Chamberlain Architect Services Limited, dated 8/16/2019. Approve a certificate of appropriateness for 432 Walnut Street, including any revisions submitted for permit subject to staff review and approval, with the following conditions: that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date, or the COA shall expire.
Thank you. I do have an applicant signed up, James Hackett. If you would like to add anything, Mr. Hackett, we need to get you sworn in. Mr. Hackett, you're muted. Mr. Hackett, you're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I really don't have anything to add. This is an exciting building, and it was pre-approved a couple of years ago, and then we just kind of put it on ice after COVID hit. So we're just reapplying and excited to get this project going.
Okay, thank you. We also have one member of the public signed up, but before we go to that, does the board have any questions for staff or the applicant? Not hearing any, so the member of the public signed up is Daniel Wood. Mr. Wood, would you like to add anything? If so, we need to get you sworn in.
Nothing to add, just listening today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness as programmed by the staff. Second.
I will call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, sounds like that's an approval. We will move on to item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 27 to 29 West 12th Street, which is in the Over the Rhine Historic District. This application is for the renovation of an existing building. Excuse me, that will include the demolition of a rear one-story addition on the western building at 29 West 12th Street. And also the remaining portions of the building will be rehabilitated to provide individual apartment units for each resident. So currently the building is operated in more of a congregate housing sort of fashion with shared rooms and facilities. So the density on the building will not increase. It is being expanded, so each resident will have their own unit within the building. The rear addition, which is proposed for demolition, is a later addition to the building. It was built circa 1923, and the applicant has investigated building an addition on top of that and found it to be structurally inadequate to handle the proposed two-story addition. So it must be demolished in order to accomplish the desired plan. So the new addition will occupy the same footprint as the existing addition, and it will have the same opening configurations, including the door and window openings as the existing addition. And it should also be noted that this project is also going through the historic tax credit process. So let me bring up the elevations. So you can see on the screen, this is the existing west elevation. See the one-story addition on the rear of the south building here, and the existing opening configurations, some of which are bricked in. And then compared with the proposed new addition in that same footprint as the existing. So you can see that the opening configuration along the ground floor matches the historic configuration from the 1923 edition, and the rhythm of that building will be expanded upward for the upper floors, which will be added. The applicant has been working with the Ohio State Historic Preservation Office in order to receive approval from their Part 2s. They had originally proposed cladding this in brick, but at the request of the SHPO, they changed that cladding to a fiber cement paneling in order to better differentiate the new construction from the historic building. So staff does feel that the addition is appropriate and substantially conforms to the conservation guidelines for the Over the Rhine district. They also have received a letter of support from the Over the Rhine Community Council for the proposal. And being an addition on the rear of the building, staff feels that the proposed demolition is also appropriate, as it is not a highly significant portion of the building. It's a later addition on the rear of the building that is not visible at all from the main 12th Street frontage, and only minimally visible when viewed from behind the building from Central Parkway due to several surface parking lots that are located between that building and the street. So staff does feel that this substantially meets the conservation guidelines and is appropriate in the interest of historic preservation. Staff does recommend the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on plans submitted by New Republic Architecture dated 5/8/23. Approve a certificate of appropriateness for 27 to 29 West 12th Street per the submitted plans, including any revisions submitted for permit subject to staff review and approval with the following conditions. 1, any changes approved by the Ohio Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service as part of the historic tax credit application shall be approvable at the staff level. And 2, the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. We do have several applicants signed up, including Ben Eilerman, Graham Calby, Lindsay Lennon, and Russell Winters. If any of you would like to speak, we need to get you sworn in. Not hearing anyone want to add anything.
I think Doug covered everything that we have in our application.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have anything unless Ben, you have anything?
No, we're just available for questions. Thank you.
great. We do have some members of the public signed up. Before that, are there any questions from the board for either the staff or the applicants? Not hearing any, so I will move to the public. Deja Rawlings, would you like to add anything? If so, we'll get you sworn in.
No comments.
Okay. Tiffany Brown Crab. Not seeing Tiffany. Believe that is all that I have signed up for item number 4. With that being said, I'll open it to either any board questions or a motion.
I'll move to approve the certificate of appropriateness as described by the staff.
Second,
Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
yes.
Mr. Zelasco. Mr. Zelasco, I think you were muted.
That would be yes.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. That item number 4 is approved. Thank you very much. And we will move on to item 6 since 5 has been withdrawn from this week's docket.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application for 213 Woodward Street, which was tabled at the April 24th hearing in order for the applicant to work with the community on a potential good neighbor agreement or to otherwise secure their support for the project. So nothing has changed at this point from the previous proposal or the previous staff report. Just as a reminder, this is an application for a conditional use for an outdoor area exceeding 50% of the size of the indoor area accessible to the public, as well as a conditional use to allow an outdoor area with entertainment within 500 feet of a residential district. So just as a reminder, the outdoor entertainment in this proposal consists solely of ambient background music played on speakers that will be directed towards the building itself. There is no live music proposed as part of this request, and staff has also conditioned our recommendation to only include the ambient background music on speakers and not the live entertainment. There's also a certificate of appropriateness as part of this request for that outdoor area on the east side of the building, as well as to paint the previously unpainted brick building on the existing non-contributing building. So it is a new construction built relatively recently, so it is non-contributing. So staff does feel comfortable with painting the previously unpainted brick since it is newer infill construction. So with that, I will read the recommendations into the record again here. The following recommendations are based on plans submitted by drawing department on 3/9/23 and 4/7/23. Staff recommends the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions. Approve the conditional use approval for an outdoor area exceeding 50% of the size of the indoor area, and approve the conditional use approval for outdoor entertainment within 500 feet of a residential district boundary with the following conditions. A, no live entertainment shall be allowed within the outdoor areas. Only the ambient music provided by speakers facing inwards toward the dining areas shall be allowed. And B, the decibel levels as measured by a sound meter at the closest residential district line shall not exceed the maximum level outlined in section 909-3 of the Cincinnati Municipal Code. And that C, operating hours for outdoor entertainment should be as follows: from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Friday through Saturday. And also, staff recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness for 213 Woodward Street, with the condition that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
We do have several applicants signed up with both the architect and looks like Urban Sites or 3CDC. I'm having a little trouble understanding who's the applicant here, but if you are an owner or applicant and would like to speak, let's get you sworn in.
Okay, I see Brandy and Leslie Rasmussen raising their hands now. If you could raise your right hand, I need you to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Would either of you like to add anything?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Brandy Del Favaro, and I work for 3CDC. And I was here at the previous hearing. And since then, after that hearing, we reached out to the Pendleton president, Abby Toussaint, and proposed a good neighbor agreement. That good neighbor agreement was sent out to the Pendleton Community Council. They were given 7 days, which is a board requirement, and how to vote. And they voted in support of that good neighbor agreement. That good neighbor agreement requires us to keep the area free of trash and debris, no live outdoor entertainment. The decimal levels are required to be met. That's the same in the staff report. To monitor consumption of alcohol, make sure it does not turn into a nightclub environment. This is a restaurant. And then certain operating hours. And then there's also procedures if we don't meet those requirements. And then in addition to that, I know Garth Lieb who is the tenant, and he is here to speak a little bit more about his concept.
Leslie, did you want to add anything before I go to Garth?
Sure. Yeah, just real quick. I'm the residential leasing manager for Model Group. I'm also a Pendleton neighborhood resident. And from both perspectives, I definitely support this project and the expansion onto their patio space. We have over 40 residential units in the area, and we've seen great benefit come from outdoor dining areas with the engagement with the community. More eyes on the street has led to some improved safety conditions in the neighborhoods where we've worked. I personally, just walking to work, walking to restaurants, wherever, I definitely choose the routes that have outdoor spaces that are maintained. I think the Good Neighbor agreement that 3CDC has worked on is a great contributing factor to, just reassuring everybody that this is a positive effort. It is in line with the safety efforts we've made in the Ziegler Park area and on Main Street. So I think it's very much aligned with the overall goals.
Okay, Mr. Lieb, if you'd like to add anything, let's get you sworn in, please.
Mr. Lieb, do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What would you like to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple words about the concept. Just basically to point out that this is for a restaurant and not a bar. So I don't really foresee noise levels being an issue with the Pendleton or any of the other residents, as it was brought up last time at the last meeting. The plan for it, it's a small space. It's only about 1,500 square feet, which only allows about 45 indoor seats. So being that small, it really is it would be a huge help for us to be able to have the extra outdoor seating on the patio for the dining areas out there. So that's kind of been the plan all along. And without that, it's really not necessarily a viable business, unfortunately. It's, the plan for it is to be a restaurant. As I said, we'll sell tacos, burritos, salads to go as well. And, it'll hold restaurant hours. So the noise, the exterior music cutoff times of 10 p.m. during the week and midnight on the weekends is totally fine with us, and we will abide by that. And I think that's about it. Other than that, I just say I'm available for questions if there are any.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who is an applicant or owner that would like to speak? I'll get to the public shortly, but applicants or owners. Okay, before I go to public comment, are there any questions or comments from the board for staff or the applicants?
I just want to say that I'm glad they worked out a positive good neighbor agreement for everybody concerned.
Okay, great. Okay, now I will try to sort out who is the public. First on my list, it looks like Carolyn Curran. If you would like to speak, please unmute and we'll get you sworn in.
Yes, thank you.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, what would you like to add today?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to offer a quick comment in support of the project. I am a Main Street resident living very nearby the project at 213 Woodward. It's just my perspective and opinion as a resident of the neighborhood that the outdoor patio space will be a really positive addition, certainly for the business and business owner, but also for the surrounding residents and community. The proposed design and the intended use of the audio system, I think are very thoughtful and definitely sensitive to both the residential area around and the patrons that use the park that is adjacent or part of the project as well. I think that the ambient music and background, the intended use of the audio system will be a great enhancement for the restaurant patron. And definitely having that patio space will be a huge part of the service for the restaurant tenant as well. I also think that the design, is not intrusive again to the park, which is right there. It won't impede anyone from being able to enjoy the amenities of the park, nor will the sound, in my opinion. And then I also just think that, again, kind of echoing what had been said before, that outdoor dining and this type of activity is a positive, in my opinion, and it'll just help all of those efforts going on right now from different organizations in the city to keep this area in particular safe and clean and vibrant for everyone that lives there. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, it looks like Greg Faust.
Hello, yes, thanks for having me today.
If you'd like to add anything, let's get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, what would you like to add?
I was just here to voice my support for Garth and 3CDC. I think it's a great project, and already with the construction that we've seen happening, it's kind of helped deter some of the activity that was going on there. And I just think that the progress that we've seen will be really complemented by a good neighbor like Garth. I think that the Pony's been a good neighbor to us. I also live on Main Street, and I'm excited to see what it brings to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Myra Greenberg. If you would like to add anything, let's get you sworn in.
If you could unmute Ms. Greenberg. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and hello, everyone. My name is Myra Greenberg. I live about 1 block away from the Ziegler Playground, and a couple of points I would like to make. At the previous hearing, there was some statements that the people who occupy the patio, who are listening to the audio and having drinks and playing cornhole will be eyes and ears. They would be natural surveillance and provide even a safer environment for those using the park and the playground. But I would like to remind members that it is a 6-foot high wall, a wood slat. So you'd have to be 6'5" to see over it to provide any natural surveillance with your own eyes. And as far as your ears would be filled with the audio and the conversations in the cornhole. So in terms of providing a safety feature, that the people who occupy the patio would be another safety feature for those who are using the playground, I think is rather absurd. There's been a great deal made that the speakers will be turned towards the masonry wall, but the masonry wall does not absorb sound. The sound waves just blast right off of it. They are transmitted all over. And even at 60 decibels, according to the prestigious internet, you can hear a conversation at 60 decibels, 40 feet away. I also like to add that in the past, it wasn't just the bars and clubs down the street and across the way who were serial abusers and offenders of noise and community noise standards. It was also 3CDC. No one ever mentioned that last time, including me, and I apologize for that. But the swimming pool has been absolutely a blasting noise, especially at the private pool parties. The speakers at the little splash play area, water area for children, those speakers are directed east, and those sound waves travel. In fact, they just bounce off. So in terms of promises to keeping it at the bottommost level of what would be community noise standards, I don't have a lot of faith in that. And I also feel like adding to the auditorial environment, the noise that comes from the pool, the splash play area, and now in this bar up until 12 midnight, it's just too much. It's just way too much. And I feel like the Good Neighbor Agreement, which was written by 3CDC, provides all these processes, 30 days and all this stuff, but you can't get anybody to cooperate with you. And so even with the little hearing I had after the pre-hearing with Brandy and Adam admitted that the noise levels were too high at the pool, at the playground. They're way too high, and he had tried over and over to have people to turn them down. And he said he was going to get an executor. And I said, you mean a governor on the volume? Well, if he had done that, he would have known what it was actually called. I said, people turn it up because they're high. I mean, this is all the time. We are bombarded all the time. It's not just Treehouse. Treehouse isn't just the only offender. We've had bootleg concerts and events at Ziegler Lawn, which we were promised and agreed that would never happen. And we were bombarded with 12 hours of loud concert music from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. And those decibels were absolutely blasting. It's like the sound level you use for a weapon of war. And so I am not convinced that 3CDC is a good partner on this. I do not think that it's good for playgrounds. I do not think that cornhole is even loud. I mean, it's going to be smacking on concrete. So I don't think this is a good idea. This benefits a special interest, one building. It does not provide any type of public benefit. No one says any public benefit to anyone else but the owner of the building, because there's no rent like bar rent. So I'm opposed.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next person we have signed up. Shri Pragada. If you would like to add anything, please unmute and we'll get you sworn in.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Would you like to add testimony?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that I'm sorry. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
What would you like to add?
Basically, if I want to strongly support the staff recommendation for the project. I understand these are the regulations that have been developed over a period of time. And as long as we can enforce them, I think this is a good idea. And I'm a resident, I'm an owner of a property in the neighborhood. I look forward to seeing this progress. So definitely very supportive of the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Frank Russell, if you'd like to speak, let's get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please proceed.
I'm architect, urban designer, and professor at UC, and the property owner of 207 Woodward, just 2 doors down from project site. And I support the use of the building and the property as proposed. The activity that's related to that use contributes to the conviviality of the urban center. It contributes to activity on the street, and that's a positive for the urban environment. The people that occupy my building and many of those that are close to my building are very interested and energized by that type of an environment that's the result of these type of uses. So I think, this proposal is a benefit. The alternative at the moment is an empty storefront on the corner, which is what is proposed is much preferable. I am, however, completely sympathetic to trying to control the noise. I think the good neighbor agreement is brilliant. I would like to hear, assuming that the community council has supported this. I'm in support of it, and I think that the good neighbor concept is appropriate. I would like to hear more about the enforcement mechanism in the event that the agreement is violated, and how grievances are handled.
Thank you. We've got one more public commenter signed up. Before we go there, Mr. Sturkey, I know there's been a lot of discussion about enforcement around this issue. Would you like to give any sort of overview about kind of what we should or should not be thinking about when it comes to enforcement?
Sure. Well, I can't speak. I haven't actually seen the good neighbor agreement, so I can't speak to enforcement on that particular document. There are enforcement procedures for the noise ordinance that is in section 909-3. And so I think just generally knowing that enforcement process exists, and that's a function for the administration. I think it's important that this board not base their decision of approval or disapproval of this particular application on the actions of third parties that are out of control of the applicant and the tenant.
Caitlin, I'm going to really mess up your last name, so I'm not going to try. I apologize. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Sure. I would just say that in the good neighbor.
If you could turn on your camera and we'll get you sworn in, please.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. In the good neighbor agreement, we do have some mechanisms in there for reporting any complaints associated with the outdoor space. We have a process for reporting those, getting together, meeting, trying to come up with solutions, and ultimately working together with the city to ensure that we're in compliance with the law. And then the city's enforcement mechanisms would step in over and above the good neighbor agreement. So the good neighbor agreement is really there to try to get us to a place where we don't even have to try to get to the city's enforcement. And so we've tried to outline what that process looks like and ensure that there are not just emails or complaints, but in-person meetings that are held and everybody is working together to try to solve those issues.
That's everyone I have signed up. I did want to give the applicants an opportunity to respond to some of the public comment if they would like to, not necessary, just giving you the opportunity. Lillian Acree? If
Ms.
you'd like
Acree,
to, yeah, go ahead.
do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
What would you like to add or respond to?
Just, I would like to make a clarification on the design. There was a point brought up that there is a 6-foot fence around one of these patios, which is true, but it's only for one side of the patio enclosure. The other 3 sides have deliberately been left a lot lower so that there is the full visibility, including one of the sides is only enclosed by a just like a rail that's about 2 feet off the ground. So that's just required by the liquor agency. It's not meant to separate the patio from people passing by. So it's in my opinion that you still have full visibility between people on the patio and the park, except for on the one side that is enclosed with the 6-foot fence, and that is just creating a visual barrier with the existing public restrooms. So I don't anticipate much park activity happening between the bathrooms and that fence anyway. So that was the only point.
Brandy, you looks like you would like to add something.
Yes. Thanks everyone for considering this. I just want to once again reiterate that 3CDC has many restaurant applications with condos above, and we also have apartments in the nearby area, and we take these type of good neighbor agreements very seriously, and we're happy to work with the community council if there's any concerns once this business is operating.
Thank you. Mr. Olson, I will allow you to add if you would like, but I don't think that we have you sworn in, so.
You could unmute, Mr. Olson. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What would
Hi,
you
I'm
like
Greg
to-
Olson. I'm the CEO of Urban Sites. I've been working on it with a working group from a couple folks from the city, Virginia Talent, Kate Bell, Captain Hammer, and John Vogt, a variety of other stakeholders along Main Street since last September, October timeframe. And we have been working very hard on occupying vacant spaces. And right now along the Main Street Woodward corridor, we have close to 25 vacant spaces. Urban Sites has recently occupied 2 of them with artists for their gallery and design space. We are working very hard on, as we've recently lost 2 dynamite tenants as a result of a lot of the Main Street disruption that has occurred, as we all are aware of the gunfire last year and the young man, the 16-year-old who was killed on his birthday. We are very committed to, as owner of and property manager of close to 150 units in that corridor. We take Main Street very serious. What we've seen from Garth and his partner at Liberties and the Pony has been nothing but exceptional. And I believe that we'll have the same experience from them at this location. We are doing everything in our power to occupy these spaces because the vitality and the eyes and the legs and the feet and the humans interacting on the street will make it a safer and healthier place for everyone. And our building is immediately next door to this location, and we absolutely endorse the request, the decibel level. We would love for it to continue at this 60 decibel, 65, which says it's ambient sound, it's conversational sound. I do appreciate where there is concern over sound because there are times when some of the street level amplified sound can be obnoxious. And I agree with some of the voices out there that have said that. And I like the good neighbor agreement. And I assume that I wasn't a part of the conversation with Pendleton, but I assume that it was well received and approved. And I know 3CDC will respond if we all have a problem with it. Because like I said, 209 Woodward is our building. We have 7 tenants in that building. And we expect that they will be treated with utmost respect. And we've had that experience with 3CDC. And we literally have spaces immediately across the street on where Woodward butts into Main Street. So we do appreciate that concern. And I've heard that here today too, but we do support this. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the conditional uses and a certificate of appropriateness for 213 Woodward as identified in staff's report.
Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, that item has passed. I do think that we have a couple other items on the agenda. First being staff approvals. Mr. Owen, would you like to add anything on those?
No, ma'am. This is just the April 2023 staff COA approvals.
Okay, were there any questions from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
We approve the staff COA approvals.
Second.
Call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
and the chair votes aye. And then I think we had a date change. If anyone would like to speak on that.
That's fine.
Yeah, Cassandra, did you want to? Well, Cassandra, you could probably tell it better than me.
So the June 19th date was previously approved by the board in 2022, and it was omitted that it actually federal holiday, Juneteenth. So when it was brought to my attention, we went ahead and canceled that date, and any cases that wanted to apply for June 19th were potentially rescheduled to the 26th with the board approval. So that was the reason why.
I'm not available that day, but hopefully you'll be able to get a quorum. So we need board action on this, I assume.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion regarding the change of date from June 19th to June 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll. Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Zelasco,
Yes.
and the chair votes aye.
Hmm.
Any other business today?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there a motion regarding adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.